Entry 905. The Sunken Atrium. Recorded by Eric, Head of Field Research. Log start. My name is Eric. I think I've been unconscious for a while. Time here doesn't move the way it should, it feels viscous, like it's struggling to pass through a sieve. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on a cold, hard surface, and the first thing I felt was the moisture. My clothes are heavy, clinging to my skin with a frigid, relentless dampness. I managed to push myself up, my palms slipping on wet marble. Splash, ripple, splash. I'm standing now. My boots are completely submerged in water that reaches just below my knees. It's breathtakingly clear. So clear that it's almost invisible until I move and break the tension of the surface. It's a pale, glowing turquoise, illuminated from somewhere I can't quite identify. I'm at the threshold of what seems to be a gargantuan shopping complex. But it isn't and oppose, a mall like the ones you see today. No, this is a relic. A cathedral of 1990s consumerism. I see massive, polished brass railings that wind around the balconies like golden serpents. I see monolithic, geometric planters made of that speckled gray concrete, but they're empty. No ferns, no palms. Just the water. I'm looking up at the ceiling. It's a colossal glass dome, a geometric spiderweb of steel and glass, but there's no sky beyond it. No sun to mark the hour. No stars to guide a path home. There is only a flat, oppressive, milky white haze that seems to bleed through the panes, casting everything in this sterile, shadowless blue glow. The reflection off the water is nearly blinding. It's a dead light. It doesn't feel like it's coming from a star, it feels like the light from a hospital hallway or an abandoned operating room. I need to move. I can't stay at the entrance forever. Slosh, slosh, splash. The sound of my waiting it's terrifyingly loud. In this vacuum of silence, every movement I make sounds like a physical assault on the air. The echoes don't just bounce, they travel. I can hear the sound of my footsteps hitting the storefronts hundreds of yards away, only to return seconds later as a ghostly, rhythmic lap against my legs. Lap, lap, lap. It's as if the building is digesting the sound I make. The air here, it's thick. It's saturated with a scent that is both familiar and profoundly wrong. It's the smell of extreme, violent cleanliness. Chlorine. Ozone. It's the sharp, stinging aroma of a freshly scrubbed industrial pool, or the metallic tang in the air just seconds before a massive lightning strike. It catches in the back of my throat, making every breath feel like I'm inhaling chemicals. There's no dust here. No decay. Just this sterilized, watery tomb. I'm walking toward a department store entrance to my right. The sign above the wide, open doors is missing several letters, the remaining plastic glowing with a dying, orange light. And oppose, centric and oppose. As I wade through the entrance, I expected the floor to rise, for the water to thin out. But it doesn't and oppose, The mall just goes on. I'm walking through rows of what used to be clothing racks, but the metal is bare. The hangers are gone. I've reached a display window. I've stopped. There are mannequins here. Dozens of them. They aren't and oppose, wearing any clothes. They're just smooth, featureless plastic shapes with that strange, unsettling beige skin tone that was so common in the 80s. They're standing in various poses, one reaching out, another tilted as if in mid-laugh, but their faces are blank. Just smooth domes where eyes and mouths should be. Under the water, I can see their plastic feet bolted to the floor. Hiss, hum, hiss. The sound of the overhead fluorescent lights is a constant, vibrating pressure against my skull. I swear, as I passed the third mannequin, I heard something. A faint, sharp sound. Tink, tink. It sounded like a plastic finger tapping against the glass from the inside. I froze. I didn't and oppose, turn around. I can't turn around. My rational mind is trying to tell me it's just the water pressure shifting, or perhaps the building settling into its watery grave, but my skin is crawling. The mannequins feel aware. Like they're waiting for the lights to finally fail so they can move. I'm heading back out into the main atrium. I can't stand being in the narrow aisles of the store. The scale of the central hall is dizzying. I've reached the edge of the central fountain area. The fountain itself is a massive bronze sculpture of a dolphin, but it's been bleached white. Not by the sun, but by the chemicals in the water. The water inside the fountain basin ISN and oppose, moving. It's a deep, bruised purple, standing perfectly still while the turquoise tide around it ripples from my movement. I'm avoiding that. I don and oppose, want to know what and oppose, in that purple water. I've moved to the edge of the escalator bank. The metal stairs are frozen, half swallowed by the flood. I'm looking down into the water near the base, and my stomach just dropped. I can see floors below this one. Dozens of them. Floor after floor, stretching down into a dark, teal abyss. They aren't and oppose, dark because of a lack of light, they and oppose, dark because the water becomes denser, heavier, more opaque as it descends. I can see the faint, shimmering outlines of kiosks, more mannequins, and neon signs for and oppose, Cinnabon and oppose, and oppose, Radio Shack and oppose, all perfectly preserved like fossils in amber. It's a vertical graveyard of a world that was never meant to be submerged. The depth is giving me vertigo. I feel like the surface tension of the water might just snap, and I'll fall through these reflections forever. I'm leaning against a marble pillar to steady myself. Drip, plink, drip. Something is dripping from the balcony above. I look up. The second-level railing is lined with pink and teal neon tubes. They're flickering in a slow, hypnotic cadence that matches the beating of my heart. Buzz, flick, buzz. They shoot and oppose, have power. Nothing here should be working. But they are humming with a vibrant, rhythmic energy that I can feel in my teeth. Wait. I've just noticed something. I'm looking at my shadow on the floor beneath the water. The light from the glass dome is bright enough to cast a clear silhouette. But the shadow it's wrong. It's lagging. When I lift my hand to wipe my face, the shadow's hand moves a fraction of a second later. It's like a bad video feed with a high ping. It's disconnected from me. I'm staring at it, my heart hammering against my ribs. Thump, thump, thump. I'm standing perfectly still now. I'm not moving a muscle. My breath is hitched in my chest. But I still hear it. Distant splash, splash, splash. It's coming from the corridor I just left. It's rhythmic. Slow. Deliberate. Slosh, pause, slosh. It's the sound of something heavy wading through the water. Something that ISN and oppose, me. It's coming closer, the ripples from its movement finally reaching my boots, gently lapping against the rubber. Lap, lap. I need to hide. I'm ducking behind the marble pillar, pressing my back against the cold stone. I'm turning off my light. I'm holding my breath until it hurts. Something is out there in the turquoise light. And it's not alone. I'm holding my breath. My back is pressed hard against the cold, wet marble of this pillar. The stone is slick with condensation, and I can feel the chill seeping through my jacket, making my skin prickle. The splashing, it stopped. Just for a second. The silence that followed was heavier than the sound itself, a vacuum that sucked the air right out of my lungs. I can hear my own pulse drumming in my ears. Thump, thump, thump. It's the only rhythmic, living thing left in this hollowed-out world. There it is again. Splash, splash. It's slower now. Heavier. Like something is dragging its weight. It's a massive bronze sculpture of a dolphin leaping out of the water, but the bronze has turned a strange, powdery white instead of the usual green patina. The water inside the fountain basin is perfectly still, unlike the flooded floor around it. It's a different color, too, a deep, bruised purple that looks thick, almost like oil. I'm not touching that. I'm not even going to breathe near it. The air around the fountain smells like old pennies and iron. Hiss. I can hear a faint gas leak or maybe just the pressure of the building shifting. I've found the stairs. They're concrete, narrow, and mercifully dry after the first few steps. Climb, stomp, stomp. The sound of my boots on solid, dry ground is so grounding, so normal. It almost makes me want to laugh, but the air, as I climb higher, the air is changing. It's getting warmer. It's thick and humid. I can feel the moisture clinging to my skin, mixing with cold sweat. It feels like walking into a steam room that hasn't been cleaned in decades. My lungs feel heavy with every intake. I'm on the second-floor balcony now. Looking down from here, the mall looks like an aquarium for a civilization that forgot to leave. The department store signs are glowing under the water, casting long, wavering beams of light toward the surface. Hum, buzz, hum. The neon is getting louder up here. There's a pink glow coming from further down the concourse. It looks like the Palm Plaza and food court. The light is so vibrant it's nauseating. I'm walking toward the light. Thud, thud, thud. The floor here is covered in that thin, industrial carpet, the kind with the busy, colorful patterns meant to hide stains. It's soaked through, acting like a giant sponge. It makes a disgusting, wet sound every time I step. Squelch, squish, squelch. It's pulling at my soles, a rhythmic suction that tries to keep me rooted to the spot. Every step requires effort. I feel like the floor is trying to eat my boots. I've entered the food court. This is wrong. This is very wrong. The overhead fluorescent lights are flickering in a strange, erratic pattern. Flicker, hum, flicker. But that's not the problem. The tables. There are dozens of plastic tables, all bolted to the floor in perfect rows. And on every single table, there is a tray. A plastic orange tray with a paper liner. There's food on them. Actual, steaming food. I can see the vapor rising from the cardboard boxes in the dim light. I can smell it now. Fried chicken. Greasy fries. The scent of salt and oil is overwhelming in this sterile, chemical environment. It's sickeningly sweet. I can hear the faint crackle of grease cooling. Crackle, pop. I'm approaching one of the tables near the railing. The steam is real. I can feel the heat on my face as I lean in. Hiss, whisper. But there's no one here. Not a single soul. I look at the fries. They are perfect. Golden. Not a single drop of water on them, despite the heavy humidity of the mall. I reached out to touch one, and I stopped. The shadow. My shadow on the table. It's still lagging. But it's worse now. It isn't even following my silhouette anymore. It's the shadow of someone sitting in the chair across from me. A tall, thin silhouette with no head, just a jagged, torn edge where the neck should be. The shadow is holding a phantom fork, moving it toward a phantom mouth. I can see the shadow's arm rise and fall. Scrape, scrape. I can hear the sound of a fork against plastic, even though the tray in front of me is untouched. But when I look at the chair itself, it's empty. The plastic is cold. There is no one there. I backed away so fast I nearly tripped over a plastic trash bin. Clatter, bang, thump. The sound echoed across the entire second floor, bouncing off the glass storefronts and the distant dome. And then, the music stopped. The distorted pop song, that low, moaning vocal, it just cut to dead silence. The hum of the neon lights seemed to double in volume. Buzz. Hum. Click. The speakers overhead just turned back on with a sharp pop of static. But there's no music. It's a voice. A woman's voice, very calm, very professional, like a mall announcement from 1994 recorded on a loop. End quote, attention shoppers, end quote, the voice says. Crackle, hiss, end quote, the mall is now closing. Please proceed to the nearest exit in an orderly fashion. Do not look at the water. Do not look at the water. Do not look at the water, end quote. The voice starts to loop. End quote, do not look at the water. Do not look at the water, end quote, it's getting faster. Higher in pitch. It sounds like a tape being sped up until it's just a screeching, metallic whine. Shriek, hiss, shriek. And then, from the atrium behind me, a massive, thunderous splash. Splash. Something just jumped, or fell, from the third floor into the water below. The sound was so heavy it felt like a car hit the surface. The entire building seemed to vibrate with the impact. Rumble, groan. I'm running. I don't and oppose, care about the noise anymore. I don't and oppose, care about the squelching carpet. I'm running toward the cinema wing, the only part of the mall that looks dark enough to hide in. Squish, squish, slap, slap. The announcement is still screaming behind me, a wall of distorted noise. I can hear the water downstairs churning violently. Slosh, crash, splash. Whatever is down there, it's not waiting anymore. It's swimming. And it's moving with terrifying speed, circling the base of the escalators. I can hear the metal of the escalator railings groan as something heavy brushes against them. Creak, screech. I've reached a heavy set of double doors. And oppose, Theater 1-12 and oppose. The gold leaf on the letters is peeling. I'm pushing them open with all my weight. Creak, groan. They're heavy, made of thick, waterlogged wood and brass. I'm inside. I'm slamming them shut behind me. Thud. I'm sliding a metal bar across the handles. Clink, slide, clack. It's pitch black in here. The only light is the faint, sickly red glow of the end oppose, exit and oppose, sign above the inner theater doors. I'm leaning against the wood, catching my breath. Pant, wheeze, pant. My lungs burn from the humidity. I think I'm safe for a moment. The thick doors muffle the screaming announcement from the food court. But then, I hear it. Right against the wood of the door. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Fingernails. Someone is scratching at the door from the other side. Not trying to break in. Not pounding. Just, scratching. Like a dog wanting to be let out. Or something trying to remember what wood feels like. I can hear the wetness of the touch. Slap, scritch. End quote, Eric, end quote. A voice. It didn't and oppose, come from behind the door. It came from inside the dark theater, right from the front row. It's a soft voice, gentle and familiar. It sounds exactly like my mother. End quote, Eric, honey, you and oppose, late. The movie is starting. Come sit down. I saved you a seat. Your favorite snacks are right here, end quote. I haven and oppose, seen my mother in 10 years. She died in a hospital bed 3,000 miles from here. I can hear the sound of a popcorn bag rustling in the dark. Crinkle, snap, crinkle. My flashlight is in my hand, but I and oppose, am too afraid to turn it on. I and oppose, am too afraid of what might be sitting in that front row. I'm paralyzed. My hand is still gripping the metal bar of the door, my knuckles white and aching. The scratching outside, scritch, 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 it's rhythmic, almost hypnotic. They're bloated, heavy with water, and covered in a fine, gray film of mold that looks like velvet from a distance. I move the beam toward the front row. There. A figure. It's sitting perfectly still, facing the blank, silver screen. It's wearing a floral dress, a pattern of faded daisies on a navy background. It's the one my mother was buried in. But as the light hits the back of its head, I see that it isn't and oppose, hair. It's a mass of wet, black tangled cables and seaweed, dripping onto the seat. Plip, plop. The sound of the water hitting the sodden velvet is sickeningly soft. I try to speak. My throat is so dry it feels like it's lined with sandpaper. And quote, you aren't and oppose, her. You and oppose, just, part of this place. You and oppose, just another reflection, and quote. The figure doesn't and oppose, turn around. But the shadow it casts on the screen. God, the shadow. The screen is a massive, white canvas, and the shadow of the figure is standing up. The shadow is turning to look at me, even though the body in the seat remains perfectly still. The shadow's neck is elongating, stretching upward like a column of oily smoke reaching for the ceiling. Crackle, pop, snap. I can hear the sound of bone, or plastic, breaking and resetting as the shadow grows. End quote, do not look at the water, Eric, end quote, the figure says, but the voice doesn't and oppose, come from its mouth. It comes from the walls. It comes from the floor. It comes from the very water pressing against my ribs. End quote, you looked, didn't and oppose, you? You looked at the levels below. You saw what's waiting down there. You saw the price of the items on sale, end quote. Suddenly, the projector in the booth behind me hums to life. Whir, click, whir. A blinding beam of light shoots over my shoulder, hitting the screen. It isn't and oppose, a movie. It's a live feed. It's a grainy, high-angle shot of the atrium I just left, seen through the lens of a security camera with a 1994 timestamp in the corner. I see the marble pillar. I see the turquoise water. And I see myself. I'm standing there, hiding behind the pillar, but the and oppose, me and oppose, on the screen isn't and oppose, moving. The and oppose, me and oppose, on the screen is looking down into the water, staring at his own reflection with an expression of pure, hollow terror. Bzzzzzt, hiss, krzzzt. On the screen, the reflection of Eric reaches up out of the water. Its hands are long, pale, and translucent. It grabs the Eric standing by the pillar by the throat and pulls. There is no struggle. No splash. He just slides into the turquoise depths like he was never there. The and oppose, me and oppose, on the screen is gone. Only the water remains, perfectly still. The screen goes to static. Krzzzt, hiss, krzzzt. I'm backing away, pushing against the double doors. Thump, thump. But the bar is stuck. It won and oppose, budge. The door feels like it's been welded shut. The scratching on the other side has turned into a frantic, wet pounding. Slap, slap. Thud, slap. Something is trying to get in, dozens of hands hitting the wood at once. And the water in the theater is churning now, swirling into a violent whirlpool around the figure in the front row. End quote, the mall is closing, Eric, end quote, the woman's voice screams, now overlapping with 1,000 other voices, shoppers, children, clerks, all of them screaming in unison from the overhead speakers. End quote, final clearance. Everything must go. Leave your skin at the counter. You are now the property of the Somnium archives, end quote. The water is at my chest now. It's freezing. It feels like 1,000 needles piercing my skin. I can feel the current pulling at my legs, a powerful, magnetic force trying to drag me toward the front of the theater, toward the dark abyss opening up beneath the silver screen. I'm losing my grip on the flashlight. Splash. It falls. The beam shines upward from beneath the water, illuminating the ceiling. The ceiling isn't and oppos, T tiles anymore. It's more water. A dark, heavy ocean hanging right above my head, held back by nothing but a thin, shimmering membrane of reality. Creak, groan. Snap. The theater floor gives way. The concrete just dissolves. I'm falling. I'm not hitting the ground. I'm sinking. Glug, splash, hiss. The sound of the screaming maul fades away, replaced by a deep, pressurized hum that vibrates through my entire skeleton. I'm underwater, but I can still breathe. The air tastes like chlorine, old memories, and the iron tang of blood. I open my eyes. I'm floating in the center of the atrium, but I'm miles below the surface now. I look up. Far, far above, I can see the tiny, glowing circle of the glass dome, a distant, dying star in a sea of turquoise. Around me, the mall continues forever. Storefronts without names. Escalators that lead to more escalators in an infinite, underwater spiral. Thousands of mannequins are floating here with me, drifting in the slow current. Their plastic limbs bump against mine with a soft, hollow sound. Thump, tap. I look at my hands. They're becoming translucent. I can see the brass railings of the floor below through my own palms. My skin is turning the color of the water. I'm not a visitor anymore. I'm not the head of field research. I'm just a record. I'm a part of the archive. Distant, warbling pop song. The music is so beautiful down here. It doesn't and oppos, T sound distorted anymore. It sounds like a lullaby I heard a long time ago. It sounds like home. I think I'll just stay. I'll just wait for the next shopper to arrive. I can hear them now. Far above. On the surface. Distant splash, splash, splash. A new set of ripples. A new set of footsteps. I hope they dawn and oppos, T look at the water. But they always do. They always want to see themselves. Log end. Entry 905. Finalized.